The Kasipul parliamentary seat remained vacant after the tragic murder of the late Charles Ong'ondo Were. And one of the person who was hit the hardest is none other than Her Excellency Gladys Wanga, the governor of Homa Bay and the current chairperson of ODM. And so, in this particular by-election, Gladys Wanga has a lot of vested interest. In fact, without mincing words, Gladys Wanga wants the next MP of Kasipul to be decided by her. She wants to choose who becomes the next member of parliament of Kasipul. And you may be wondering why. Ladies and gentlemen, Charles Ong'ondo Were the late was a personal friend of Gladys Wanga. Like I said, she was hit the hardest. You saw how she reacted to the murder of the late Ong'ondo Were. Some people even argue that she was sadder than the widows themselves. And there is some truth to that. Because of all the elected members of parliament from Homa Bay, none owes Gladys Wanga absolute loyalty. I can tell you without mincing words, I come from Homa Bay, I come from Kasipul, and I can tell you no elected member of parliament from Homa Bay owes Gladys Wanga absolute loyalty. And by absolute loyalty, I mean people who will do whatever you tell them when you tell them without questions. The only person who did that was the late Charles Ong'ondo Were. And that is why you saw Gladys reacting the way she did. This hit her so hard. She lost not just a friend, but a loyalist, a confidant, somebody who was ready to literally run errands for Gladys Wanga. But here is the twist. You see, the late Ong'ondo Were was not very popular with the people of Kasipul because of the violent nature of his politics. He believed for some reason that opposing him was unacceptable. And so if you opposed him, either goons were going to come after you. In one way or the other, you were to face consequences. So Gladys finds herself in a fix here. Her confidant, her friend, the late, was not very popular with the people of Kasipul because of the violence. But Gladys Wanga does not want that memory. She wants Ong'ondo Were to be remembered as not just a very popular person, but as one of the best members of parliament who ever lived. So she is going to do whatever it takes to ensure that whoever takes over from her late friend is somebody she can control, who is going to owe her absolute loyalty. Unfortunately for her, of all the interested candidates, none of them also owes Gladys Wanga loyalty, because all these other candidates had been opposed to Charles Ong'ondo Were. That is why Gladys Wanga has decided to front Ong'ondo Were's own son, a young man called Boyd Were. And she is doing virtually everything to ensure that that man clinches the ODM ticket. And in Kasipul, once you clinch the ODM ticket, it is as if you've been elected. Even this Ong'ondo Were, it is not as if he was popular in his first term, so that people overwhelmingly re-elected him. No. In places like Kasipul, the reality is that once you have the ODM ticket, people tend to vote for the party than individuals in Luo Nyanza. So getting the ODM ticket, the party of Raila Odinga, in that particular area is equivalent to being elected. That's why it's very difficult to find members of parliament elected from other parties in Homa Bay. It's almost impossible to find that, because in that county, the loyalty to Raila Odinga is at 98%, and so they do not want to disobey Baba. Whoever will be given the ticket is likely to carry the day. And that is why Gladys Wanga is doing virtually everything to ensure that her selection, her choice, Boyd Were, gets the ticket. And Wanga knows how to get what she wants. Of all the politicians that have come across, none of them is a go-getter than Gladys Wanga. When she wanted to be given direct ticket as the governor for Homa Bay, because the race was a tough one, she was going against very, very tough opponents, the likes of Magwanga, the likes of Kidero, Badis of this world. These are people who are in their own league. But then how did Gladys Wanga win? How did she get the ticket, that is? Gladys Wanga knows how to use proxies to get the message home. To get Raila Odinga to give her the ticket, she had to make it a matter of gender, because up to then, there was no female governor from Luo Nyanza. And so she would paint herself from that gender perspective and use every other means, whether it was through opinion polls, whether bringing citizens to Luo land, to Homa Bay, whether it was going through Uhuru Kenyatta. She did virtually everything to make Raila feel that by not giving her that ticket, Raila Odinga would be fighting women empowerment. And so she got that ticket, and the likes of Magwanga and others were asked to swallow their ambitions. Even in this case, Gladys Wanga is likely to get her wish. I know she might have made this thing look like every other person who is going against Boyd Were is an enemy working with the people who do not support Raila Odinga. And like I told you, Gladys Wanga knows how to get what she wants. This Boyd Were you saw the other day was being launched by none other than the likes of Farouk Kibet. So she is putting pressure on the party and Raila Odinga to endorse this particular boy. And that is likely to happen. That is why the likes of Aroko and others have decided just to go independent, because whatever nomination is going to be done there, I can assure you, this one I can bet, the winner of that particular nomination, that ODM nomination, will be that Boyd Were. And like I told you, once you win the ticket, the ODM ticket in Kasipul, it is as if you are elected. So Gladys Wanga is going to do whatever it takes to get this boy elected. And just in case you've forgotten why this is a do or die for her, I told you she needs a loyalist, somebody who is not going to question her. Kasipul is a vote-rich constituency, and you need the person in charge of that constituency to be your loyalist, someone who's willing to do anything you tell her. That Boyd Were is not political. He's never been a politician before. He is being fronted here as a puppet. And this is not to disrespect the young man and just painting the picture here. The political puppets, people who are put to run to satisfy the need of another person, that is what a puppet is. And in this case, Boyd is vying to satisfy the needs of Gladys Wanga, which there's nothing wrong with that. The advantage of puppets or stooges is that they are mostly very loyal because they know that they owe it to you. I remember one day talking about Senator Moses Kajwang and said that it is impossible for Senator Kajwang to attack Governor Awiti or to oversight Governor Awiti because he got into office through the support of Governor Awiti. Remember, he replaced his late brother, Uchino Kajwang. And it was impossible. It was naive to expect that the same Awiti who used resources to campaign for him and get him elected, that somehow Kajwang was now going to start scrutinizing how Awiti was running Homa Bay. He wouldn't do that. Even today, Kajwang cannot be expected to start attacking Governor Wanga, even if she was messing up Homa Bay. That is the advantage of having political stooges or puppets. They rarely will question whoever put them in position of power. And that is why Gladys Wanga is doing virtually everything to get a stooge there. And there are others who argue that the kid may win now, but come 2027, things will change. I don't think so. If he wins now, the same method he used to win, the same method, criteria he used to win now, is what he will use to win later. That is how politics work. I always give you an example here. The method that was used to win elections in 2013 is what worked in 2017 and is what worked in 2022. That is getting Kikuyus and Kalenjin to stick together. It gives you victory in 2013, 2017, and 2022. If Boyd Were gets the ODM ticket, that's all he needs to win even 2027, because it will be a matter of who has the ticket. And I'm not ruling out a surprise, because this is politics. People of Kasipul might surprise us and decide to vote for an independent. Very unlikely, but it's possible. So there is a Rocco there who is very popular. I remember was home, and is the person those people are saying they are likely to vote. But I've been in politics for long, and I know what people say they will do and what they end up doing. And so people can tell you, we will never do this, but when elections come, they do what they usually do. And chances are that people are going to elect whoever has the ODM ticket. I'm not ruling out, I'm insisting that I'm not ruling out a case where Kasipul people surprises the world and vote an independent MP. They might, but the chances are very low, ladies and gentlemen. That is what I wanted to share with you, why the Kasipul race is a do or die for Gladys Wanga. Just in case you've forgotten, I said that Wanga needs a loyalist in that particular constituency. It is vote rich, it was being held by a loyalist, and Wanga needs that to continue till 2027. Because without loyalists, it's difficult for Gladys Wanga to retain or for her to get re-elected. She needs loyalists, especially in vote-rich constituencies like Kasipul. And she believes she is going to get one through the young Boyd Were. I hope you found value in this video, ladies and gentlemen. If you did, let me know in the comment section. If you're here to subscribe to this channel, take a second and do that. And don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends. Otherwise, in case you want to know why the Malava by-election is very important to William Ruto, watch this video.